This is Tomo News for Friday, April 8th.
Couple have goodbye sex at China airport, caught on camera. This is an intense way of saying goodbye to your loved one. Unaware of the audience around them, the couple thoroughly enjoys their moments of passion. Until the guy arrives at his destination.
VR sex gets physical with Illusion bodysuit. Virtual reality me time just got jacked up a notch with an invention from where else but Japan. Tokyo-based sex toy makers Tenga have released a $400 bodysuit, which promises to add a tactile dimension to the brave new world of solo fun. Named the Illusion VR, the suit combines physical stimulation with virtual reality visuals. So, could this be the answer to the sexual frustrations of those for whom love too often goes unrequited? The Illusion VR is designed to work with a game called Sexy Beach on the Oculus Rift VR headset. The user messes around with some weird fake breasts while an appendage to the device rummages around in their nether regions. Although, it seems you'd have to suspend your disbelief even further to ever think those fake puppies were in the right position. To create the sensation of an actual human rubbing against you, sensors and straps inside the suit send electrical impulses to the body. But even if it feels good, it's probably best to wear your VR sex suit somewhere others can't see you. Apologies if all this has got you excited about finding a new path to personal pleasure, because despite its $400 price tag, the Illusion VR has already sold out. And it's unknown when it will be available to buy again. Maybe it's not time to delete Craigslist from your bookmarks just yet.
Touching robots turns people on. Scientists in California claim humans can become aroused by touching robots. The Stanford University researchers say a physiological response occurs when people touch the naughty bits of humanoid machines.
Please touch my buttocks.
The scientists found that social conventions regarding touching someone else's body apply to robots as well as humans. They discovered that touching a robot's less accessible regions was more arousing than touching, say, its hands or feet. But is this just propaganda designed to make us accept the future sexual communion of man and cyborg? After all, it's well established that men can be aroused by inanimate objects, and women have been having sex with machines for years. Perhaps a better study would have been to ask why humans project their own characteristics onto non-humans. So why make robots look like humans at all? Surely it's better to see machines as useful tools to make our lives easier, rather than welcoming them as our new robot overlords or potential sex partners.
Tennessee axe-wielding woman shot down by police. On April 6, LaRonda Sweat, 40, reportedly attacked a Sumner County Sheriff's deputy with an axe. The deputy was serving Sweat an eviction notice at her home on the 200 block of Chaffin Court just off Airport Road in Gallatin, Tennessee, when Sweat struck the officer in the abdomen with this axe. The video, captured from a camera on responding officer James Spray's vest and the dashcam of another officer's vehicle, shows the dramatic moment Spray shot the woman down on April 6. Upon arrival, Spray met Sweat in the street where she advanced on the officer despite being told multiple times to get on the ground. After being backed into another police vehicle, Spray fired 2 rounds, striking the woman both times. Sweat was provided immediate medical treatment but later died at Sumner Regional Medical Center. The injured sheriff's deputy was treated at Skyline Medical Center and later released. Officer Spray was placed on administrative leave as the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation looks into the incident.
Russian Rambo trapped near ISIS base calls in airstrike on himself. A transcript of the final communications between soldier Alexander Prokhorenko and Russian Special Forces has been released, detailing the final moments before he called in his own death, trapped in ISIS territory. Prokhorenko was stationed near Palmyra, Syria, in charge of directing airstrikes on ISIS targets. Alone, he suddenly realized that he was dangerously low on ammunition, surrounded by terrorists with no possible escape route. He radioed his commander to communicate his dire situation and told him to go ahead with airstrikes to take out the ISIS jihadists. His commander refused, ordering Prokhorenko to get to safety before any such command would be ordered. He warned that if they were to proceed with the warplanes, Prokhorenko would not be able to escape the bomb blasts. The brave soldier acknowledged his concerns but insisted the airstrikes be initiated, knowing he would perish either way. Alexander Prokhorenko's fate was sealed. In his final transmission, he thanked his commander, said he had the best wife in the world, and was serving the nation he loved. His wife, Ekaterina, was reportedly unaware that her husband was even serving in Syria. They'd been married only 18 months, and reports indicate they were expecting their first child.
San Antonio Middle School cop body slams 12-year-old girl. The San Antonio Independent School District has launched an investigation after a video surfaced that appears to show a police officer body slamming a female student to the ground at Rhodes Middle School last week. Officer Joshua Keem got between two arguing female students around 4 p.m. on March 29th. The 33-second video, which was posted to YouTube, shows the cop restraining a 12-year-old student as other students are gathered around. Some students can be heard urging the girl to chill. The officer then proceeds to body slam the girl face first into the pavement. While the girl is on the ground, the cop slaps handcuffs on her. He then helps her stand up and walks her away. Keem has been placed on administrative leave, while school officials and the district's police department investigate the incident.
Man shoots neighbor for feeding stray cats.
¿Qué tú quieres, viejo Aura? ¿Eh?
Mira,
¿Qué tú quieres?
espérate, ¿qué yo quiero? Ya vienes a grabar con el telefonito. Acuérdate de lo que te dije delante de la policía.
Viejo Aura.
Acuérdate, maricona.
Viejo Aura.
Maricona, acuérdate lo que te dije.
Aura, ¿qué eres?
Acuérdate lo que
No
te
eres
dije.
hombre ni eres nada.
Apunta a tu madre.
Boca. Sí, sí. Dispara, dispara. Dispara.
A ver, ¿me vas a matar? ¿Dónde está aquí?
No, la yegua es.
¿Dónde está aquí?
La yegua.
Ay, cómo no, ahora sí que
La yegua es.
Claro, llamo a la policía.
The show must go on. Artists tend to be passionate about their craft, but one Indonesian singer was so into her performance that she didn't want to stop, not even for a lethal snakebite. Irma Bule was known for singing and dancing with her reptile friends on stage, and her performance at a village in West Java was no different. Instead of her usual pythons and boa constrictors, on Sunday night the 29-year-old performed with a highly venomous king cobra. It was a mistake. Everything was going right, until she accidentally stepped on its tail during a song. The snake sank its fangs into her thigh. Instead of scrambling to get help, Irma refused an antidote from the snake handler and carried on with the show. She sang for another 45 minutes before the vomiting and seizures kicked in. The singer was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. The venom stopped Bule's heart. She was dead.
83 penguins from the Detroit Zoo happily waddled to their new home. 83 penguins got their 15 minutes of fame on Thursday, April 7th when they took a stroll in Detroit. From Gen 2 to Macaroni, the happy waddlers got the, blue carpet treatment as they relocated from their old habitat at the Detroit Zoo to the new Polk Penguin Conservation Center, the largest penguin facility in the world, slated to open April 18th. The penguins are moving on up. The new facility will have 10 times more water habitat, giving the swimming birds 325,000 gallons of 37-degree water to play in. It will be the deepest penguin aquatic environment anywhere outside their native Antarctic waters, allowing them to dive 25 feet below the surface. That's one big swimming pool. Happy moving day, little guys!
Teen posts smiling pic after running from fatal truck crash. Following a car crash, a Florida teen had the brilliant idea to pose for a pic next to a wrecked car he was a passenger in, and slap it up on Instagram. Meanwhile, the truck driver and the other vehicle involved in the crash was killed. A tanker truck loaded with 8,500 gallons of gasoline was traveling southbound on Interstate 75 in Sarasota last week. A Volvo S80 driven by a 16-year-old happened to be traveling in front of the semi-truck. The driver's 15-year-old brother was in the passenger seat. The tanker rear-ended the Volvo and veered into the west shoulder of the highway, where it overturned and burst into flames. The truck driver was thrown from the tanker and died at the scene, while the two brothers in the Volvo fled after the accident. The 15-year-old then later took a photo next to the wrecked Volvo, posting the pic to Instagram with the caption, "R.I.P. Volv," accompanied with a smiley face and a truck emoji. Needless to say, the photo went viral over social media. The 16-year-old has been charged with leaving the scene of a crash with death, which is a second-degree felony, and violating a learner's permit restriction. The 15-year-old brother's Instagram account has since been deactivated, with a disclaimer that it was hacked. Yeah, sure it was. Flight attendant pulls a Steve Slater. In a bizarre move, a United Airlines flight attendant deliberately deployed the emergency evacuation slide after a flight from Sacramento, California landed at Houston's Bush Intercontinental Airport on Monday, April 4th. According to a United Airlines representative, the incident took place around noon after Flight 1246 landed. The flight attendant deployed the evacuation slide, threw her bag down, and jumped out, walking away as if all was normal. Meanwhile, in the back of the plane, a man was having trouble breathing and needed to be escorted off the aircraft. The move is reminiscent of an incident in 2010 when JetBlue attendant Steven Slater dramatically quit his job after arguing with a passenger and fled via the plane's emergency exit slide. Neither the police nor the airline have revealed why the United Airlines attendant decided to leave the plane in such a dramatic fashion. The United Airlines plane is back in service, but the flight attendant remains off duty. Skateboard rocket explodes in California, killing one. A community is reeling after a science project went horribly wrong and killed a high school senior in Southern California on Monday. Bernard Moon and a 17-year-old friend were experimenting with a homemade rocket in the courtyard of an elementary school in Thousand Oaks. The pair attached the rocket to a skateboard. They were testing it out as part of a science research project when it exploded. The blast killed 18-year-old Moon and injured his friend. Police investigating the incident are trying to figure out what caused the rocket to explode. How to hide the Earth from aliens. Last week, Columbia University researchers published a paper saying laser beams could disrupt alien observations of Earth. Or, if you will, lasers could cloak and thereby hide Earth from any human-hungry ETs. The idea borrows from NASA tech, which is already in space. NASA's Kepler Space Telescope detects new planets by observing the dips in light from stars they pass in front of. The Columbia guys say to make Earth invisible in this sense, you fill in the missing starlight. It's here where the lasers come in. By beaming 30 megawatt space-based lasers for 10 hours a year, the researchers say we could theoretically fill this light gap and make ourselves invisible to all those curious alien civilizations and nefarious space foreigners. Keep off our planet, y'all hear?
Boss survives disgruntled ex-employee's shotgun shooting. A shooter armed with a shotgun took his own life after his attempt to shoot his ex-supervisor to death was thwarted by the victim's briefcase. Charles Obaid says he raised his case when he heard gunfire while entering his Cambridge, Massachusetts office Thursday morning. The shooter was an ex-employee of his, Kermit Hooks. The 70-year-old had begun firing at him in a rage, but Obaid's briefcase saved his life. After his attempt on his former boss's life failed, the 70-year-old shooter turned the gun on himself and took his own life. Because of his briefcase, Obaid survived the attack and sustained only minor injuries to his face due to shrapnel from the gunfire. Brooks, pictured here in this photo from 20 years ago, was 70 and likely a disgruntled ex-employee. Yet somehow he got his hands on a 12 gauge. Background checks are one thing, but should there be an age limit on who can wield firearms? Fire off with your thoughts below.
Exploding Takata airbags claim 10th U.S. victim. Automaker Honda and U.S. regulators say a 10th death is linked to defective Takata airbags in the United States. Exploding Takata airbags have prompted the recall of tens of millions of vehicles worldwide. The latest U.S. victim was a teenage girl who died in a crash in Texas last week. A high school senior was killed when her 2002 Honda Civic rear-ended a Honda CR-V in Fort Bend County. According to investigators, 17-year-old Huma Hanif was not speeding and was wearing a seatbelt during a car crash on March 31st, so she should have walked away alive. However, she was killed when shrapnel punctured her airbag and sliced through an artery in her neck. According to the Independent Testing Coalition, the use of ammonium nitrate as a propellant is one of 3 factors that cause Takata airbags to explode. Airbags are deployed in a crash when a sensor triggers the inflator and a chemical propellant pushes the airbag out. But the ITC claims Takata's inflators don't keep out moisture in high humidity environments. The ITC says high humidity causes the already moist airbags to explode with too much force and spray shrapnel at drivers and passengers. So far, 14 automakers have recalled 24 million vehicles over the faulty airbags, and the largest auto recall in U.S. history. 9 of the U.S. deaths linked to Takata airbags occurred in Honda vehicles. Honda said the owner of Hanif's car had been mailed multiple recall notices, but repairs were never made. SpaceX rocket sending first inflatable habitat to space. It sounds like a sci-fi dream, but the International Space Station crew is getting their first attachable, expandable room when an unmanned SpaceX spacecraft takes off on Friday. When SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket launches from Florida on April 8th, it'll be sending the Dragon cargo capsule to the International Space Station with 7,000 pounds of supplies. A prototype expandable space habitat called the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, or BEAM, will be included in the cargo. Air stored inside the BEAM will inflate the habitat to up to 13 feet long and a diameter of 10 feet. The beam will be attached to one of the docking ports on the International Space Station for 2 years. Crew members won't be living in the prototype yet. Instead, they will be running tests on its structural durability, as well as its ability to withstand variations in pressure, temperature, and radiation. Made out of Kevlar-type material, the beam offers protection from outside space debris, such as small, asteroid-like objects. Inflatable habitats could be essential to future missions to deep space. On these long journeys, crew members will need more space to store supplies as well as conduct research. If the upcoming beam experiments prove successful, the prototype will lay the groundwork for future space habitats. Details emerge about the mysterious Planet 9. Although no one's actually seen the planet that supposedly lurks in the outer solar system, planetary scientists at the California Institute of Technology presented evidence for Planet 9's existence in January. As a spacecraft orbiting Saturn recently returned with even more observations that support Planet 9's existence, evidence seems to be mounting that a mystery planet truly does dwell out there. Scientists first predicted the possibility of Planet 9 after noticing dwarf planets in our solar system's Kuiper belt had orbits that clustered toward the same direction. This strange alignment is best explained by a sizable object whose gravity tugs the dwarf planets into place. Its orbit is larger than orbits of other celestial bodies that we're more familiar with, completing a full orbit around the Sun every 20,000 years. To achieve the observed gravitational effect, Planet 9's diameter is probably around 4 times the size of Earth's. Its mass is approximately 10 times the Earth's mass. Scientists speculate that the planet is probably an ice giant similar in composition to Neptune and Uranus. Planet 9 appears to be nearer than scientists originally thought. It could come to as close as 200 times the distance between Earth and the Sun, or 200 astronomical units. Scientists also predict that Planet 9's gravity may force additional objects in the Kuiper belt into orbits perpendicular to its own. If the planet does prove to really exist, then we could reach it in as few as 20 years. Until then, the hunt continues for the evasive icy planet. Some scientists are now hoping to find it with the world's largest telescopes. A new study shows a continued drought in California. California's record-breaking drought might not be temporary. Researchers are predicting prolonged warm weather and lasting drought conditions. A new study by Stanford University in collaboration with Northwestern University and Columbia University says California should be prepared for continued drought conditions. California's water supply relies on ice melted from the Sierra Nevada snowpack. The melting snow provides a consistent trickle of water over the dry summer months, and wet winters build it back up again. However, a high-pressured ridge has caused warmer weather and a drier climate. A high-pressured ridge is created when cool air in the northern regions travels south, while warm air in the southern regions travel north. Along the California coast, the ridge creates a barrier, pushing rain-bearing storms away from the state. Researchers believe this barrier will prolong California's drought conditions. A new study explains that this ridge is why the state has been experiencing warmer temperatures year after year. Researchers also say the ridge is causing the shrinking snowpack in the Sierra Nevadas. Furthermore, California's reservoir systems are not equipped for the changing weather. When a deluge does come, much of it runs into the ocean instead of the reservoirs. New evidence links Zika virus to brain and spinal cord infections. A link between the Zika virus and neurological disorders deepens as scientists have found cases of microcephaly and Guillain-Barré syndrome may be the most obvious diseases caused by the virus. Microcephaly has many potential causes, including infections, viruses, toxins, or unknown genetic factors. Infants with microcephaly are born with abnormally small brains and skulls. In the most serious cases, the birth defect can cause the early death of a child or even the death of the baby while still in the womb. Even if babies survive, they will be intellectually and physically handicapped, or in the best cases, they will suffer psychomotor impairments. Another neurological disorder commonly linked with the Zika virus is Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is when the body's immune system destroys the myelin sheath that surrounds the axons of peripheral nerves. The first symptoms of the syndrome include weakness or abnormal sensations in the legs, which gradually spread to the arms and upper body and eventually lead to breathing difficulties. After observing the virus replicating in brain tissues of aborted and stillborn fetuses, scientists now suspect the Zika virus can act directly on nerve cells. Researchers also believe the virus may attack nerve cells directly in adults. Newly discovered brain and spinal cord infections in those exposed to the Zika virus include meningitis, encephalitis, and myelitis. Such infections were all caused by direct attacks on nerve cells. The disorder suspected of being caused by the Zika virus has prompted more urgent measures to develop a vaccine to shield people from the disease. Body of missing student found near creek on campus. Authorities are investigating the death of a University of Texas at Austin student, later identified as a freshman dance major. Haruka Weiser was last seen leaving the drama building around 9:30 p.m. on Sunday. She was returning to her dorm but never made it and was reported missing the next day. Less than 24 hours later, her body was found near a creek next to the Alumni Center. Weiser was reportedly assaulted before being killed. Her death has been classified as a homicide. Police are looking for a person of interest in the case who was last seen walking a woman's bike in the area the night Weiser was killed. He is believed to be a 6-foot-tall black man. CCTV footage of the man with the bike was released on Thursday, and the public is being urged to help identify the person in the video. A $15,000 reward is also being offered for information that could lead to an arrest.